everybody. So I can't wait to get into it. I'm so happy to be here. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else on a Friday night. Um, just doing the work, and getting ready to get into this message. It's powerful. I don't like to hit you with anything unless it's got power, unless it can move, can change something in your life today. I'm a today kind of person. I don't want to be waiting 2, 3 years of work to get down to business. So that is always my goal. When I go live, I want people to show up. We get into this word, we get into what's going on, because I know you guys can see it. I know I can feel the shift happening. The wake up is happening. I mean, it's more than a red pill. I don't know what to call it. Maybe we'll call it the white pill. Maybe we'll call it the clear pill, the crystal, the heaven pill. I don't know. But people are starting to think about God. Let's just face it. People are starting to think about God, talk about God. I'm hearing it coming from the White House. They're praying before meetings. And it makes me feel good, because I remember telling my daughter a couple of years ago, like because things were like really weird. And I'm like, the pendulum has swung too far in the wrong direction. And when that happens, it has to come back. It has to correct itself. There's always going to be balance. And we already know who comes out on top. We already know who won. It's just a matter of humanity picking up the gauntlet and running with it. Jesus already ran the race. He threw it down. He says, here you go. Enemy squashed. Go ahead and have life, and have life more abundantly. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. And this is about how light has won, right? So I don't know about you, but have you ever looked at entertainment, news, media, and thought there's no way that all of these things going on can just be a coincidence? Well, you're right. There is a calculated, coordinated plan to keep all of us afraid, distracted, and enslaved. Not just physically, but spiritually. The name of the game is divide, conquer, and distract. Okay? And there's a lot of corruption going on, but there's a power. I almost want to say it's like an alien invasion of power. There's things going on in the spiritual realm, and there's people who know how to access the spiritual realm. And there's good and bad in that realm. And the world powers from I don't know how long ago have partnered with demonic energy, with evil energy. I don't know if you guys saw this story, but there was this girl who did a family tree of all the sitting presidents, and she found out that every president except for one was related to this one king, King John, I don't know, his Malik, I think it was, or anyway, dating all the way back to 1215. How is that possible? How is it that every one of these presidents, that we're supposed to have clear and fair and elections, and the people pick them, and it's all a democratic process? How is it possible that every single one of these presidents are related by blood? There has to be something else at work here. Now, for all intents and purposes, I'm going to call that thing, that spirit that they're colluding with, principalities, because that's what the Bible calls it. It says we do not war against flesh, but against principalities and powers in high places. That's who we're warring against. And what are they out to do? Well, if you connect the dots between money, fear, culture, and morality, you'll see that it's all a part of the same web. And what I want to do is chronologically put out there exactly what this principality uses to capture and enslave humanity. Now, the principality is a great imitator. Everything that God does, it wants to do. Everything that it offers is either they make it sound like it's like God, like you'll have power to know what's between good and evil if you eat of the tree, or it's in direct opposition with God and what he wants for you. For example, God wants us to have peace, right? Jesus calls himself the Prince of Peace. My peace I leave with you. Now, what does this principality want us to have? Fear. Fear is the opposite of peace. So what does he do? Sets up a God that can be worshipped besides the God of the Bible. And that God is money, mammon. Money is a god. It is an idol. And it is promoted as the most important, the most valuable, the most precious thing that you can have. If you have money and enough of it, then it's like the rules don't apply to you. I mean, you literally can do anything, just about anything, and get away with it. And the people who set up this system continue to show us that that is true. I mean, look at what happened in the Diddy trial. Like, they brought him out and paraded him in front of everybody to berate him and take away the power that he had because he stopped playing ball the way they wanted him to play ball. But did any of us believe that Diddy was actually going to go to jail? I mean, I know I didn't. Because his connections, because of his money. See, money is a god. And they teach us to pursue it with everything that we got. Like, we literally exhaust ourselves. If you work, exhaust ourselves. Some people have 2 and 3 jobs in the pursuit of money. People literally sell their children for money. The things that are done for money is outrageous. And then they just laugh in our faces, the ones who have it and are part of the system. I don't know if you guys remember, but do you remember the global crisis of 2008? Like, people lost their homes, lost their jobs, lost everything in their portfolios, and guess what the government did? It bailed out the banks. It says, we don't have any money for you guys, but we can't let these banks fail. Why? Because if money loses its power, then the principality loses its hold on humanity. If he can't keep us pursuing that and worshiping that and working our entire lives for the goal of being wealthy or having enough money, how much of our time is wasted on when I get enough money, when I get the money, when my money's right? Constantly thinking about it. The average American household is underwater in debt. And credit card debt is like, the finance rate is like 20%, and we still use it. I mean, that's like loan shark numbers. And some of us are dependent on our credit cards just so we can make small payments on all of the things that we've purchased in the name of credit. Let's read right here in Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. It says straight out, you cannot serve God and riches. No one can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. Not you should not serve. You cannot serve. You are automatically choosing one over the other. And I know for us who love God, we say that we don't worship mammon, but I want you to compare how much time you spend at work in comparison to how much time you spend in church, reading the Word, praying, talking to God. Work is going to get their 40 hours. How many hours does God get? How many hours does your meditation on the Word get? Now, I know I'm not talking about everybody. I will never use the word everybody or all because there's variations in everything. Humanity is too complex. There's too many things going on. So you could never say all or every. I know some of us are in constant contact with God. I feel like I'm in constant contact with God. And I feel like He does get as much of my time as work. But I wasn't always like that. I mean, I had to wake up. I had to realize that, yeah, I really do just go to church on Sunday and, maybe go to Bible study. And then the rest of the time I got a life to live. I got things to do. I've got kids to feed, right? And that is using money as an idol. I'm sorry to say it. It really is. And that's why I talk a lot about breaking out of the mindset of the 9-to-5 hustle. Spending 12 to 15 of your 24-hour day in preparation for work, driving to work, working, lunch break, come home, de-stress from work. All of that related to this hamster wheel that they have us on. Chasing money, paying bills, chasing money, paying bills. I just want, briefly, just think about this. This earth, God gave us this earth to humanity. He gave us this earth. And everything that we've ever had, every single thing, the cars, the phones, the furniture, the windows, the glass, the microchips, everything that we have was already here when God created it. Man learned how to manipulate this element or manipulate that thing, and he turned it into something through his creative powers. But nothing has been flown in from outer space to this earth. Every single thing that you're looking at, ever touched, ever seen, ever done, was here already. God gave us everything that we needed when He created the earth. Now, what have we done with that? We've taken the resources and we've sold people places to live, sold people food to eat, which is grown freely, sold people clean water, and if they could figure out a way to bottle and sell air, they would do it too. Because it goes hand in hand with the fact that they have us worshiping money. The other thing that the enemy uses is fear. Not just fear, but a whole fear culture. Our entire existence is bombarded with thoughts of fear. From small ones, like, I have to have the right shoes for this wedding, otherwise I'm going to feel out of place and weird, to the big ones, like, it's going to be World War III if this thing doesn't work out between Trump and Russia, right? But every day, if you're on social media, if you're watching the news, if you're reading the newspapers, which are kind of like out of date now, it's so funny to say that, but like if you're consuming any type of entertainment or any type of media, it is fear-based. You watch a news program, 90% of that thing is going to be about crimes, wars. It's going to be about, rainstorms. It's going to be about watch out for this and watch out for that, watch out for this. Because fear, why? Because fear sells and fear controls, and fear keeps people not thinking clearly. You're always in flight or fight mode. And you can't make reasonable decisions when you're in fear. Let's go over here to 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7 and see what the Bible has to say about this. 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Now, when I read this scripture, I thought, power, yes. Love? Why is love in this scripture? Love and a sound mind. Because love is the thing that conquers all evil. Love is the thing that changes the heart of man. Right? A man could be all kinds of wilding in the streets and doing his thing, and then he meets a girl and they get married, and that woman changes his life. He stops doing the things that he used to do for the love of that woman and his family. And by men, women, the same thing. You could be out there thinking that, life has nothing to offer and you don't care about how you treat yourself and others, and then you fall in love. And then, boy, you want to go to Disneyland, you want to do all the good stuff, roses smell sweeter, candy tastes nicer. Like, love changes you. It changes the atmosphere. It changes everything. I've seen it, like in children who come from war-torn countries and all they've known is violence and fear and duck and hide and, poverty, and they come to a home where there's love, and because of there's love, there's nourishment, there's compassion, there's comfort, and that child turns from this solemn, downtrodden, a jumpy little person into happy and cheerful and go lucky. I mean, love is so powerful. Don't miss that. Please don't miss that. Because if that principality has its way, it will keep us trapped in fear. I want you to understand that. Love and evil can't inhabit the same place. There is no darkness. There's only absence of light. We have to be the light. That's what the Bible says we are. We are the salt and the light. Right? You do not light a candle and put it under a basket. That's what Jesus says. And these principalities and these powers that have gone on for I don't even know how long, from time indefinite. Like, you can go back to the Bible and it's been around. It's an ancient, formidable foe. And it's been around and it knows exactly what it's doing. But we have what? God gave us a spirit of power, love, and our sound mind. That's all the tools that we need. So, I talked about how the gods that used to be the smaller gods that were back in like the Egyptian days, and they were sacrificing their children to that god, and they were doing all kinds of sexual debauchery, to appease that god. Those spirits are still around. They haven't gone anywhere. And I believe that they are still sacrificing children to those gods. But now they've got terms that go with that, like abortion. Do you know how many states have late term abortions? Like, up till birth, you can decide that you don't want that baby and you can put it to death. That's a sacrifice. The Bible says that life begins at conception. Now, I don't want to get into the whole abortion issue because I don't judge people who've had one. I understand circumstances. That's not my point at all. My point is that when you have an ancient evil like that, they find ways to get the blood sacrifices that they need. I mean, just think about it. They also use false flags and wars to do that. There's always some war going on. We are so tired of wars. And usually it's behind something that turns out that it wasn't even true. I mean, remember the Iraq War? The weapons of mass destruction that were never there? Nobody ever questioned it again? But thousands of people died. Innocent civilians died. Young men and women died. People going into the military at 17, 18, 19 years old. Those are all sacrifices. And there's nothing wrong. I'm not against my men and women in the military. I love men and women in the military. I love you. Salute you. And your hearts are in the right place. But what I'm saying is the manipulation, the gaslighting that they do to get us into these wars are in vain. And they call it collateral damage. War is ugly, No, war is unnecessary. Whatever changes in this world after all of these wars? You hear people say, well, we've got to liberate, and we got to do this, and where's the evidence? Where's the evidence that something changed because you went over there and blew up this person and killed these people? Like, where is it? No. It's sacrifice. The other thing, and this one, I want you to pay attention to this because this is what's happening right now. It's right in our faces, is the corruption of innocence. Now, why does the principality use corruption of innocence? And by corruption of innocence, I mean the abuse of children, the trafficking of children. You'll go back over history and see that there were concerted efforts to take people's children from them. Think about the Native Americans where they took them all away and put them in orphanages and made them so that they were supposed to Americanize them. There was something that happened in England where they took the kids and they called them the Canadian kids, and they took them and put them on a ship and sent them over to Canada to work as indentured servants. Took them away from their moms and dads. And sometimes the parents didn't even know that they were signing their kids away. Because a lot of them, for whatever reason, the person seemed like an authority and legit, and they put their ex on the line, and next thing you know, their kids shipped off somewhere. This has been happening. The trafficking and the use and the abuse of children. And there are countries who literally have like cultures and rituals that go along with the abuse of children. The dancing boys, and it's just out in the open. It's known. Well, why does the enemy use that corruption of innocence? Because he knows what he's going to get. If you abuse a child, you are either going to get somebody who has a fear-based nature or somebody who's a perpetrator. Right? There it is again. Fear. And I know a lot of us do our work and we get out of it and we live the best life that we can as adults, but I'm telling you, you are carrying scars. There is something in your life that is affected, tainted, cattywamped because of the abuse that you suffered. And usually it's several things. And like all of our drug houses, everybody who has some sort of substance abuse has a childhood issue. And you can talk to people who actually, go out there and work with these people and like police officers and DEA agents, they know. Every single person that they talk to who's addicted has abuse. All those people who are, doing porn, you wouldn't have any porn actors and actresses without abuse. Strip clubs, prisons, all of these systems are fed by people who have been abused. And so I always wondered, like, why weren't there stricter laws against this? Why isn't somebody looking out for these children from birth? I mean, I even thought about, like, oh, wouldn't it be great if there was an organization that would go and follow up on every child that's born to make sure that they're in an environment that is, suitable for a child, that they haven't been abused. And I mean, you guys have all heard the stories of the utter debauchery that happens to children. And yet there's no program to even teach people how to be parents, to teach them how to deal with stress so they don't abuse their children, to teach children how to speak up when something's happening. And then you can go to jail and do more time for having a bag of cocaine than you can for being a PDF file. That's out. That's ridiculous. And I've always thought, why would that be? Because our governments and our people and our leaders are in bed with this principality. And so they do what works for it. They do what it tells them to do. And it doesn't want children to be whole and to be happy. Because those children are more likely to end up worshiping God. More importantly, those children are more likely to end up loving others and loving themselves, which is what humanity is moving towards. That's what the wheels are grinding towards. If we can get to the point where we actually love, forget about religion right now. Forget about religion. Forget about loving God if that's not your thing. Forget about skin color. This is not about political parties. This is not about left and right. This is not about any of that. This is about humanity. Learning to love each other, learning to do what's best for the next man. The golden rule, treating people like you want to be treated. Right? Treating people like you want to be treated. How would I feel if X, Y, or Z in every situation? We should be asking ourselves that question. From the way we drive to our grocery store encounters, the way we work. If somebody was working for me, would I want them sitting around doing, surfing the internet while I'm paying them? Like things like that. And by the way, we as a society need to move away from racial divide. Like that's ridiculous. We are 99% the same in our DNA. And what makes us different is 1%. Skin color or hair texture or eye color. Now there is something to be said about what culture you were brought up in. Culturally, you could be the same, but then culture doesn't account for skin color. If I had a newborn baby and I went and raised that baby in Australia, a little brown baby, he's going to be an Aussie. He's going to have an accent. He's going to, you immerse a child or anybody in a culture and they become like that culture. So there are black people who have grown up in a certain culture and they carry that. There are white people who have grown up in Cabrini Green projects and they come out with that culture. And I can understand how culturally you don't want to, deal with certain aspects of every culture, and there's good and bad in everything. But race and skin color? That is so basic. That is so trivial. We really, really, really need to let that go. That's number one. The other thing they try to do is they try to normalize all kinds of sexual debauchery. Like, I've watched so many shows, so many movies where there's incest, brothers and sisters together. I mean, it could be a very good show. But why do they have to put that in there? What is this about? What we need to understand is that this principality has to get agreement with humanity to move something forward. So what does it do? It uses movies, it uses entertainment, it uses books, it uses music to push ideas. This is what's happened in France, okay? This is exactly what happened. I can remember the days when people were saying, oh, the French are so loose, like they just walk around nude, and they're just like, they're so forward thinking with their sex, you know, it's not a big thing over there. I remember when one of these pop stars came back and she was all fully exposed in a see-through dress or whatever. It's like, well, I've been in France and it's just different over there. And I'm thinking, And now what do we find out about France? Right? That the president was 14 years old and being groomed by whatever the rumors are, bottom line, somebody who was an adult. Why? Because they've been floating this thing out there this whole time, moderately pushing, and all we have to do is say nothing. Silence is agreement. If we don't say anything, if we don't use our voice, that is agreement. That is agreement. And I'm going to get into that more, but I want to talk about like how they use the movies and the songs. Now, this has been happening for a long time in the music industry. It's starting to be exposed, but like in rap music, if you're not glorifying murder, drug use, and sexual exploitation, you're not getting a record deal. You're not getting pushed. You're not getting promoted. And again, this is not a race thing. This is a culture thing because everybody listens to rap. I watched a show where they were rapping in Lithuania and like China and Japan, everywhere. So rap is a thing. But it's that branding and the braggadocious way that we promote things that are not good for us. Right? And these songs are mantras. Affirmations. You repeat it over and over and over. You know that thing that you do when you want to change your life, when you want to make something happen in your life? Affirmations. Well, that's what we're doing when we're singing these songs over and over and over. Repetition, mantra. I'm not going to put anybody's lyrics out there because I don't want to shame anybody, but I'm saying, you know what I'm talking about. You know the lyrics are out there. And it's not just rap music. There's pop music too. Always talking about rebellion, always talking about cheating on somebody's husband, or, you know, I'm sorry, the boy, you know, the boy is mine, all this stuff. Adultery, fornication, heavily promoted. Heavily promoted. And I know as Christians we listen to godly music, but we also, I'm not just talking about Christians, I'm talking about as a society what the enemy uses as tools to get us to come in agreement with their agenda. They're all tools. They have also used Hollywood influencers. Like, we know this now for sure. Another idolatry. They give this person, whomever it is, everything that we're supposed to work after. Don't forget about that pursuit of money thing that they have us on. And then, ooh, they've got it. They've got all the money that I've been working my whole life to get. And ooh, look at the way they live with it. Oh, look at this party, the spread, the flowers, the house, the cars. Ah. And we're worshiping them. They literally call them stars. Like, gaze up into the heavenlies. There they are. Why? Because they can use them to manipulate us. They use them to sell us products. They use them to tell us how to vote. They use them to tell us what to think. Those profound, oh, that was so profound, that line in that movie. And when he said, whatever it is, that just changed everything for me. Yeah, exactly. And that is exactly what stars are born for. And just like with Diddy, and just like with Michael Jackson, and just like with, Prince, if you try to buck that system, if you try to do anything outside of what they told you to do or not do, you're going down. You are going down, my friend. They are not going to allow you to do anything, Mr. Star, that we haven't told you to do. So, look at Kanye. The list goes on and on of people that they've torn out the game because they started to want to think on their own or move on their own. But these influencers, just think of the name, influencers. Hello? Influence us to do what? Hate our neighbors, envy our neighbors, want what they have, right? Look at ourselves like, ugh. Remember the scripture is, love your neighbor as you love yourself. They rip right out into self-love, right? The goal is division and distraction. Division and distraction is the goal. Let's read it over here in John 10 and verse 10. John 10 and verse 10. Then Jesus, let me go back here to 10. Well, I'll start in 9 actually. Jesus said, I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved, and you will go in and out and find pasture. The thief, the principality, the devil, the evil one, the thief does not come except to steal and to kill and to destroy. Jesus says, I have come that they may have life and that they may have it more abundant. He wants us to have an abundant life, a good life, a pleasurable life. All those moments when you're with your family and you're having a good time and there's plenty to eat and the atmosphere is just right, the weather's perfect. That's how all of life is supposed to be. I'm not saying the bad things aren't going to happen and like life is full of dualities and trials and challenges, but what I'm saying is we're not supposed to be divided and distracted. We're not supposed to be chasing and worshiping money, hating our neighbors, talking about what, oh, I'm not like them. Oh, this is different. No, absolutely not. So what can we do? What can we do? Because like I said, I'm about some right now, today changing person. I want what we can do right now. The first thing you can do is love God. Love God and your neighbor. It dismantles the enemy's strategy because it unites and it heals. Period. Now, if you can't get there yet, that's okay. But please do be thinking in every moment when you're dealing with somebody else. Please do be thinking, how would I want to be treated? If I was working at Chipotle and I got somebody's order wrong on accident or on purpose, how would I want that person to respond to me? Then do that. Do that. I am starting to believe that our emotions were given to us so that we would know when other people will be hurt. Not so that we would know when we're going to be hurt. Because when somebody talks to me in a condescending voice, that's irritating. That's disruptive to my spirit. And because it affected me that way, then I know if I do that to somebody else, it will similarly affect them. So I'm not going to do it. See what I'm saying? Your emotions are clues to what we shouldn't do to other people. If somebody's ever flipped you off in traffic and it made you angry and want to speed after them, guess what? Don't flip people off in traffic. Because you know, likely they're going to have the same. We are the same. Our DNA. We're made in the image of God. This is why movies and music and movie stars work. Because we all think the same way. We respond the same way. We see a movie, it touches our heart. It touches millions of people's hearts. It couldn't be a hit if it didn't. The song wouldn't be a bop if we all didn't love it. So we are the same. If something upsets you, it's going to upset another person too. The other thing that we can do is speak up. Speak out. Say something. Even if you're alone and you're watching a movie and you see some debauchery on there, right? You can say like, no, not in my name. Not in my name. I do not agree with this. This is wrong. This is not what I want to see. You can turn that thing off. You can fast forward through that part, but say something. The Bible says that the power of life and death are in the what? Tongue. It's the reason why we are at the top of the food chain. It's because we can communicate. God spoke the world into existence. Words are powerful. Our voice is powerful. Our choice is even more powerful. It's a gift from God to have free will, to be able to choose. So please do speak out, even if you're by yourself. Yes, use your words. And especially when you're at the dinner table with your family, it doesn't have to be a big old disagreement. You know, it doesn't have to be an argument, but it does need to be talked about. I saw XYZ. Did you see XYZ? I don't agree with that. Do you agree with that? Universally, we need to say no to things because when we stay silent, like I said before, silence is agreement. Silence is agreement. We must speak out against these things. The other thing you can do is you can write letters. If a company is doing something that you don't agree with, right? Like, you know, like, I don't know what kind of example I can use, but there's many of them out there, like ads. Those ads, what company was that? And they had those kids, and they were like in all kinds of BDS get up and whatnot. Balenciaga. Write that company and say, I do not agree with this. This is out. I'm against this. And you might think, oh, what is my one letter going to be? Listen, if we all did it and you start to interrupt the relationship that they have with their God, which is money, then they're going to pay attention. And I believe that in the spirit realm, if we speak out against something, they can't move it forward. Now, I don't have a whole lot of proof of that. It's a theory that I'm still working with in my head, but I believe it's a key to the kingdom. Because they have, there's a correlation between the way that they float information out for us to slowly consume it. Like, oh, okay, let's see, let's put this out there. No response. Okay, let's go a little further, get a little out, you know. And then before you know it, it's a full blown thing. It's the natural thing. Oh yeah, those people. Yeah, I know. I seen them, and we didn't say anything or do anything. I think it's related to the verse of like what we loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. What we bound in earth will be bound in heaven. But I'm working on that theory. I'll get back to you on that. But that's just my belief. That's not out of the, it's not biblically defensible at the moment. But it's what I believe. So we start to write those letters. We start to petition. And we just say, no, not in my name. I don't want this in my, wherever you are. I don't want it in my country, my town, my city, my home, my school district, whatever. No. We have to say no. We have to speak out. And then you need to educate the people around you. Like a lot of people get into their own bubble and they don't even know what's going on. I remember going to a Bible study and, this was back when the Baphomet statue was being toured around America. There was a big old statue of Baphomet, and it was being toured around as like a museum piece. And I went to the Bible study, and I started telling people about this, and they were like, "What? When? I didn't know. What? Are you kidding me?" Yeah, no, that's literally happening. So if you know something, say something. Not to cause controversy, but because the power of life and death is in the tongue, and we need to say that we do not agree. Let's read over here in Proverbs, chapter 18 and verse 21. Straight up, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Use your mouth. Use your words. We are the light. We are the light. We are the salt and the light. And there is no darkness. There's only absence of light. And I believe that once the world is filled with light, the enemy cannot remain. It will have to flee. The Bible even says, cling to God and the enemy will flee. Love is what conquers. We have a superpower, guys. Listen, Jesus has already defeated the enemy. He left us the gauntlet. All we have to do is pick it up and carry it. We got to pick it up and carry it. And how do we do that? By doing the things that I said. Loving God, loving others, treating people the way we want to be treated, right? Bringing love into every situation, bringing light, speaking out against injustice. And I want you to think about this. In every part of history, there is a story told. And there will be a story told about this time, this 2025, this era where things where darkness was starting to be exposed, where the people were starting to wake up. And I want to know where you want to be in that story. Are you going to be on the side of those who stood with the light? Or are you going to be on the side of those who stood silently in agreement with the powers and the principalities and the spirits in high places? Because all evil needs to do to flourish is have nobody that will stand out against it. It's clear that the world powers are in partnership with this principality. But we are the victories. When we unite and speak the truth and live in love, his power is broken. God himself said, at the Tower of Babel, if they get together on one accord, there's nothing that they can't do. So let's get together. Not in my name. Say it with me. Not in my name. You're not going to do these things while I idly sit by and watch you. Not in my name. Let's do it together, guys. Let's do it. I know you can. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for listening to me. Please like and subscribe, and put on that notification bell so that when I do another live, you'll get a notification. And when my videos drop, I'm trying to put something out every day to bring a little bit of light into everybody's life, so you'll get a notification. And I'm so encouraged. I'm so encouraged by every comment. And I get emotional, but I really am. I'm encouraged by every like, by every new subscriber, by every comment. Like, this is a passion of mine that is finally coming to fruition. And every person who shows up for me is like a diamond. It's like water in the desert. So I thank everybody. And I look forward to sharing more information with you guys in the future. Have a great weekend.